Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Living on Music. I'm Steve Hauk, and wow, so excited for tonight's show. If you see behind me, it is the brand new theater called The Vogel, and it is in Red Bank, New Jersey, right near the Count Basie Theater, which has been around for a long time. This is a brand new venue that people are playing, including my unbelievable guest tonight, Willie Nile. If you know Willie Nile and you're a fan, then you've been a fan for a long time and you know how special this guy is. If you're not, then get ready for a taste of Willie, and then you can go back and find what you really like about his incredible, 40-year career in rock and roll. Plus, and what an amazing guy. And boy, did he get through this last year on fire. He, got hit hard like any musician has, especially a guy who is, in his early 70s and continuing to find ways to write incredible music and play rock and roll. And boy, he put out a record in May of last year. He did numerous virtual things, some incredible stuff. He also found ways to play some in live gigs, some completely empty, and others with people starting to become distanced, and there was a tribute album called Uncovered put out about Willie, with 26 of his songs covered by people like Nils Lofgren, Graham Parker, a host of amazing musicians. But I am so excited to talk to Willie again. I've interviewed Willie twice. We've hung out a little bit at the Barns at Wolf Trap and also at Jam and Java with my dear friend and college roommate, Jim Cox, who's a buddy of Willie's. And tonight, we get to live on music together, and I just can't wait. So Willie Nile will be along in just a minute. Just want to pump up Living on Music on Facebook. We're up close to 550 members and growing. So if you are a member, then please share it. Share it around and say, hey, you might want to jump on here and see some cool shows like Living on Music, and then also a lot of the things that are posted from friends and musicians and writers and things like that. And music fans, it's a lot of fun. So join if you're not joined, and if you have, share it. Also, livingonmusic.com is my website I've had for a number of years that spurred on the name of the show that you're watching, Living on Music. And if you want to read about musicians, legendary ones from across the world over the last 20 years, I've had just such a humbling ride that I talk about in the intro to Willie a little bit. But go to livingonmusic.com as well, or again, Living on Music on Facebook. Well, over the last 20 years, I've just been absolutely blessed with interviewing some of the great musicians of the world. And I could list them over and over. What I'd like you to do is you go to livingonmusic.com and just search genres and go down and see who it is. But everybody from Buddy Guy to John Anderson, to Rick Wakeman, to David Crosby, Graham Nash, Peter Frampton. The list is endless, and just have had such an amazing music writing history. And then obviously also it has kind of morphed into Living on Music, where you are tonight. One of my favorite interviews and one of my favorite people that I've interviewed over the years is Willie Nile. Willie is a just turned 73-year-old rock and roll mainstay, and continues again to always come up with great rock and roll music with phenomenal songwriting. He continues to keep the moods up. We're going to talk tonight a little bit again about how he has decided to try to be positive during this time, although he was also hit as a musician, hit hard, and found ways to do incredible things. Like he and his bass player, who I've also met, Johnny Paisano, have gone out and done things in the streets of New York, played music near Buddy Holly's apartment, and played Buddy Holly music. They've gone down and played in front of the Statue of Liberty. He's found ways to keep going, and that's just Willie Nile. He is infinitely positive, infinitely energetic, and infinitely talented. And he has a new record coming out in the next, actually it just came out prior to the airing of the show last week, called The Day the Earth Stood Still, which does convey a little bit of what is going on and how the earth seemed like it was almost still after what had gone on the last year. But again, upbeat, incredible music, realistic music, including a song called "Blood on Your Hands" by with him and Steve Earle, and we're going to show a little clip of that, and he'll talk about him and Steve and how their friendship has developed. They're neighbors, I believe, and that's incredible. But he also wrote a record back during this whole entire thing in May of last year that honored New York City, and I love to hear that. I'm such a fan of New York City. I spent long times there as a kid, growing up, going to Madison Square Garden for concerts, going to Broadway shows with my parents. Doing a myriad of other things in New York City over and over for many years. And Willie wrote a record that was released in May, and it was called New York at Night. And it basically is an album that gave a lift to New York City during this time because New York was hit so hard. And that's just Willie Nile to a nutshell. I am so honored and excited and humbled to see my buddy here once again. It's been a while. And let's do it. Let's give a warm Living on Music welcome to Willie Nile. Willie Nile, how are you, my friend? I can't believe it. How are things going, man? It's so good to see you.
It's good to see you, Steve. I'm well. I've been working hard, but I'm in good spirits, surviving.
I bet.
I'm well, thank you.
I bet. That sounds like you. That sounds like the way you'd be. It is. I've been telling people that you're going to be on, and I know that we've talked a couple of times in the last number of years. We've hooked up a little bit at the Barns. I know you, me, and our mutual buddy, my college roommate, Jim Cox. We saw him at the gym in Java a number of years ago. But I am so honored that you were taking some time because you are one busy man all the time.
It's my pleasure, Steve. I appreciate you having me.
Thanks, Willie.
Thank you.
I've been looking back at the last year of all of my guests, and when I looked at yours, I said, look, I know Willie Nile's a legendary longtime musician, had to feel some impact over the last year, but boy, have you done some amazing stuff that we'll talk about. But how did it hit Willie Nile in the heart and soul?
Well, I live in New York City in Greenwich Village, and we did a gig on February 29th, my band and I, in the South Orange Performing Arts Center.
Right.
February 29th, 2020. And my bass player, Johnny Paisano, had a fever, was pretty sick. Everybody got COVID that night except me.
Oh.
John Weber, my drummer, Johnny Paisano, Jimmy Bones, my lead guitar player,
right,
they got different degrees of sick they were. And James Maddock and his girl Maggie, and they all got it. I didn't get it, don't know why.
Wow.
Jimmy Bones, he was sick for a month, and he coughed so hard for like a week, he cracked 3 ribs.
Oh.
But they survived. They survived, and we did. I didn't get it, but all the gigs were completely shut down.
Right.
There was I had tours booked in Italy, Spain, which were moved to November, and then moved again. And now they're to this April. Now they're moved again to 2022 in the spring. We'll be in Italy and Spain. Gigs were, it was fascinating living here. It was just so bizarre.
Yeah.
The streets of New York, if you would have told me 2 years ago that it would be a ghost town, like some sci-fi zombie movie, I would have thought you were nuts.
Oh, I bet. My son lives in Chinatown and got COVID. He's 25 and he got hit hard like some of your bandmates and made it through. So, but he had been telling me about New York and how, again, I love New York and grew up, right outside of it in Connecticut and spent most of my time in New York City. And it is, Willie, it must have been a kind of a stunning experience for you.
It was fascinating, and I thought it was really interesting. It just intrigued the hell out of me. I've been here for a long time in New York.
Right.
I love the energy. I love the cosmopolitan nature of the city. I love the vibe. It's just intriguing. The history. I'm always walking the streets, looking around the buildings, this, that, the other. And even with the streets empty, with nobody. I remember 6th Avenue one time. There was no traffic. I thought I could go lay down there. I still felt the energy. Knowing behind all these buildings, these ghost-like buildings looking down on the street,
right,
knowing that behind all these windows were people because nobody was out.
Right.
It was like being in a sci-fi movie, and I dug it. I mean, obviously, it was a nightmare.
Right. Right.
It was just a horrible nightmare for a world, the whole planet. And
sure.
I it inspired a bunch of songs, and it was just so interesting. I mean, I don't know if I'll ever see that again. Hopefully not.
Well, I know it inspired a new record, which we have,
Yeah,
luckily for all of the people that love you and your music. August 13th, The
yeah,
Day the Earth Stood Still is coming out.
yeah,
We're going to delve back into the last year because it's amazing. You had an album come out in May of 2020
yeah.
that was all about New York, and we'll talk about New York at night. But you have The Day the Earth Stood Still coming out. How long was this record in formation, Willie, and what was the
It
motivation behind it?
was pretty quick. I mean, like last year, May 15th of 2020, I put out New York at Night.
Yes.
And when there was a lot of talk and conversation about, well, should we hold the album, because we couldn't tour behind it. And I thought, I knew friends of mine who made records that were just waiting until the end of summer and the fall. And I just thought, these are such heavy this is last year, May. It was the spring or before that. And I thought, you know
Right.
what? It's so dark and negative out there. And New York at Night is such a positive record. It's for me, it's electrifying.
Sure.
I love the city. We'll talk more about that later if you want. But my decision was to put it out was because I thought these times are so hard. We could use a little bit of pick me up.
Sure.
The album's upbeat. There's no way you can listen to it and not feel better.
Right.
Well, I suppose there is, but so we put it out, and I made 4 albums in the last 5 years. 4 albums in 5 years. So I had a few songs I'd written. I thought this could be an album. At least the makings of an album. And then
Right.
last year, at the end of May, walking. You might have heard the story. I was down by my storage space, which is a block from the Holland Tunnel.
Right.
Rush hour in New York City is by the tunnel, and it's a parking lot. Take 45 minutes to go, 3 blocks.
Right.
And I came out on a Friday night near the end of May, and I walked to the corner of Varick and Spring, block from the tunnel. Not a car. I looked uptown, not a person or car in sight, all the way up 7th Avenue. Look downtown, same thing. I actually took pictures with my phone both ways. I was standing in the middle of the street,
Oh.
and I just thought, oh, you can't make this up. And it struck me, The Day the Earth Stood Still.
Right.
The great old sci-fi film from
Yeah.
1951.
Yeah.
Michael Rennie and Patricia Neal. I always loved that movie. And
Right.
I heard it was one of Spielberg's favorite films.
Wow.
But I thought of that title, and I thought, that's a song. And then, just walked home through these haunted streets. And about a week and a half later, I was coming down 5th Avenue in a cab, and from like near the Metropolitan Museum of Art.
Right.
And all masked up. I was very, very cautious when I went out. I always wore latex gloves. I didn't touch any doorknobs. I was just trying to be, my own little Howard Hughes, just not, you're trying to be safe and careful.
Right.
And
Right.
knock on wood, still going. But coming down 5th Avenue, there was not a person, almost nobody in sight, boarded up all the way down to Washington Square Park, because there were marches, there were some looting and riots going on. So it was a very tense time in the city, and seeing it all boarded up, it was like, this is like a World War II movie.
Wow.
And the lyrics came to me, the day the earth stood still, the day the earth stood still. I saw grown men cry, making out their will, the day the earth stood still. And I wrote the song when I got home, and the song has one of my favorite verses I've ever written in it. I remember when I wrote it, I thought, I don't know where that came from, but thank you. It's like, when the ABCs of logic meet the CEOs of greed, and the SROs of loneliness cry out and start to bleed, there comes a time for judgment, a time to pay the bill. And that is just the way it was the day the earth stood still.
Ooh.
And
Ooh.
it's a rocker. And right then I knew that's the title song.
Wow.
And so over the summer, and especially in the fall, I was in Italy in the fall. I wrote 3 or 4 songs in Italy. Blood on Your Hands, I finished in Italy.
Right.
This song, Blood on Your Hands. And
Yeah.
I wrote a number of them. Time to Be Great. They're both reactions to the pandemic and the world we're in. Watching television, watching the news, watching the news pretty close. And I'm watching, so what do we do in this nightmare? What do we do as human beings on this planet?
Right.
And I just thought, probably my father's inspiration coming through me. Time to be great.
Right.
Just be great. Let's pick each other up. Let's just be our best people. Let's be the best we can.
Right.
And I wrote a song called Time to Be Great. And so the album was pretty much written last year.
Right.
There's 2 older songs on it. The last song, Way of the Heart, I had
Wow.
written some years ago with my dear friend Frankie Lee.
Right.
But I thought Way of the Heart, I thought was a beautiful way to finish the album. It's an upbeat record. It's feel good. I'm thrilled with it. I'm just
Oh,
so happy.
oh, spectacular! I am so happy we're going to be able to get some new Willie Nile as well.
Thank you.
Here's a good time, Willie, to let's play a little music from that. You were going to we'll hear this title cut in a minute, and you said you'd do that, and I'm so excited you give us a
Sure.
shot. But
Sure.
let's talk a little bit about Blood in Your Hands and how you ended up hooking up with the great Steve Earle.
Well, Steve, I love Steve Earle. He
Yeah.
lives around the corner from me,
Oh,
you know, and we run into each other a lot. You know, he's a really good guy.
yeah.
Always nice to me, you know, and he's a busy guy. So I called him I made this record, right? And I had a song called Blood on Your Hands. And I thought, it just hit me one night. Maybe Steve, it'd be great to have Steve sing on it. I thought he might like the song. So I texted him, hey, Steve, I'm making a record. There's a song I'd love you to sing on. And he wrote back, I'm around. So I sent him the song. And he said, okay. It's okay. And so we set it up, and he was so good. There's a guy making a documentary about me.
Right.
And he said, can you ask Steve if we could film him? And I think Steve knows about the documentary. And so I wrote him again, Steve, hey, is it okay if we film it? Okay.
Oh,
Couldn't have been nicer. Couldn't have been easier. We came in the studio. By then we were all vaxxed. But when we made the album in January, every one of us, there was strict, we all wore masks.
yes.
If anybody's, there's a musicians union regulation that anybody who sings in a room, nobody can go in that room for another hour.
Wow.
So we really, 12 hours, whatever a day, with full masks on the whole day, but we did it, and I'm proud of it. The guys played their asses off. It was just
Oh yeah.
incredible experience.
I bet. And as we talked about pre-show a little bit, Steve will be here in the DC area at the Birchmere in July. And also I'll be going out and seeing him with Los Lobos at the Freeman Stage in Delaware. And I can't wait. And I know you'll be in DC soon, right?
Yeah, I'm coming to DC. I'll be August 28th. We'll be at the Hamilton.
Oh, yeah.
Which is the Hamilton's. You had asked me earlier. I've had favorite venues, and I'd mentioned the Vogel in New York, in Red Bank,
Right behind me.
which is behind me. Yeah, it's a brand new venue, and it's we played there like a week ago.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful place, and just the sound, lights, great to see an audience again. So we're back playing again, and
Yeah.
the Vogel's great, and the Hamilton is one of my favorites in the whole country.
Yes.
It's a block from the White House.
Yep.
After sound check, we played there a number of times. After sound check, I'll always walk over just to the White House and just by myself, and just stand down there, look at the place, and just take in the history and the vibe. It's
Yes.
a great venue, really good people, great sound. So August 28th, if you're not busy, come on out to Hamilton and DC. Promise you won't be sorry.
If I'm anybody who knows you would want to be seeing you live again, and I know that is going to be a fabulous gig. We're going to go to the Bowery Electric, which is another one of the venues that you know and love. This is a wonderful thing to see, and this shows that Willie has been able to surge through this thing, and this is where he and his band are. And there's a special guest named Steve Earle. This is a little bit of Blood on Your Hands.
Well, you can dance with the devil, and you can run with the Lord, and you can buy all the glory that your conscience can afford. Yeah, but there will come a day when the pony gets played, when the goose gets cut, when the piper gets paid. Blood on your hands, blood on your hands. There's cracks in the walls of your best laid plans. Blood on your hands, blood on your feet. There's bodies piling up down on Good Luck Street. You can
boogie and a hippie shake. You can paint the town red, you can call the truth fake. Yeah, but there will come a time when the whip comes down, when the papa is king and the king becomes a clown. Blood on your hands, blood on your hands. There's cracks in the walls of your best laid plans. Blood on your hands, blood on your feet. There's bodies piling up down on Good Luck Street. Hi, hi, yeah, yeah, yeah. 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 Heaven can't count all the times you've tried to fill your pockets with your foolish pride, and numbers can't count all the tears we've cried, but hell will remember all the times you lied and lied and lied and lied. Blood on your hands, blood on your hands. You can't wipe it off with your one night stand.
You know, I've been asked about that song, you know, and my take on it is that, you know, these are turbulent times. You know, the song is about dancing with the devil, whether it's something personal between two people or politics on a world stage. You know, if you dance with the devil, you can get blood on your hands. It's a universal theme, and, you know, greed, selfishness, and pride aren't limited to governments.
Right.
But a lot of it has to do with the past year.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, you know me, I'm a positive person. I look for the best. I look for the best in people, and I'll never make a record that's a downer. At the end of the day, I want people to walk out of a venue after a show or finish listening to a record going, man, I feel so good.
Yes.
So I love the song Blood on Your Hands. It was so great. It's fun to play. Steve Earle singing on it was just a thrill of a lifetime. God bless. Thank you, Steve.
Yeah, that's fantastic, man. I couldn't believe it when I was doing my research and seeing what you've been doing and what you're going to be doing. And there was Steve there. Why don't we, if we can, Willie, love to hear a little of you playing the title cut to The Day the Earth Stood Still. This is something real special. And
yeah, I've never played, you know, I played it I'm going to move this back a little bit.
Okay.
we played it live the last 3 shows. All right, this is the title track. This is The Day the Earth Stood Still. I hope you like it. Politicians were in the pocket. There were senators on the edge. There were Wall Street mooks shaking in their boots, standing on the window ledge. A cold north wind was blowing, giving everybody a chill. Nothing moved out on Main Street the day the earth stood still. There was panic in the cities, there was terror in the towns. There were teardrops falling on every street the day it all came down. There were mothers holding babies, wailing on the windowsills. There were freak preachers begging on their knees the day the earth stood still. The day the earth stood still. The day the earth stood still. I saw grown men cry, making out their will. The day the earth stood still. Logic, meet the CEOs of greed, and the SROs of loneliness cry out and start to bleed. There comes a time for judgment, a time to pay the bill, and that is just the way it was the day the earth stood still. The day the earth stood still. The day the earth stood still, I saw grown men cry, making out their will. The day the earth stood still, yeah. Cry to Barada Nikto, cry to Barada Nikto, cry to Barada Nikto. So if you see some heartache, and if you feel some pain, and if you see some lonely soul outstanding in the pouring rain, offer up some kindness, compassion if you will, and remember well the way it was the day the earth stood still. The day the earth stood still. The day the earth stood still. I saw grown men cry, making out their will. The day the earth stood still. The day the earth stood still. The day the earth stood still. I held my baby tight in my arms. The day the earth stood still. Grab to Barada Nikto. Grab to Barada Nikto. Grab to Barada Nikto. Oh yeah. The day the earth stood still.
Oh, Willie, man, I think I am the luckiest person on the planet at the moment to be able to sit and hear you play that. Congratulations, man.
You know, I have to say that I don't know why after all these years the songs are still coming to me, but they're coming in droves.
Oh,
And I don't make a record. I won't go on stage if I don't think it could be special.
yeah.
You know, I mean, what do I know? But I love that song. It's really fun to play.
Me too. Me
Fun
too,
to play.
Willie. And it shows Willie Nile at his core, and it also shows kind of the overall influences you've had over the last number of decades. Way to go. You must be really proud of that. And if
Thrilled with it.
we went back to the beginning of 2020, or at least in the spring, you released your last record right before the day the earth stood still, coming out soon, is called New York at Night. And again, I am such a huge fan of New York City. Spent so much time there as a kid, and my son lives there now, and I know that you're wed and love it. How did New York at Night, we touched on it a little earlier, but during, in the middle of this craziness, or at least actually as it began, what gave you the impetus to say, all right, I'm going to do this instead of, kind of hunker down and not do anything? I'm going to put out an album that shines New York City.
Well, New York was taking a pretty hard hit at the time, in the beginning of at least in this country, in the beginning of it, people were like dropping like flies, and it was pretty scary. You go to the grocery store and, we knew so little about it. I'd come home and I'd leave the groceries outside, the door, and I'd spray them and wipe them down. I'm thinking, man, this is nuts. And my feeling, the impetus for putting New York at Night out, that album, was I love the city. I absolutely love New York. It's taught me so much. I grew up in Buffalo.
Yep.
Traveled here, when I got out of college, and it's still teaching me stuff. I was out running around this morning, and always see stuff of you see so much. It's taught me a lot. And I just thought that New York at Night could be a shot in the arm for New York, for people, anybody who needed to pick me up during these just absolute nightmare. And I just thought, I'm not going to hold it back. I'm not going to wait for some more, beneficial time. I just thought the world was really dark, and I thought this might throw a little bit of light in it. So I said, you know what? Let's just put it out. To hell with it. Yeah, I'm glad I did.
And you did it such justice. And boy, am I happy to see something like this that kind of lifts people up, especially in the city where, as we both know, and my son again saw it firsthand, living in the middle of getting COVID and all that in the middle of New York City. Let's turn it up a notch. This is a wonderful video that Willie did that was released around July 13th, 2020. So about a year ago, believe it or not. But this, I love your quote, Willie. You said this video is a celebration of a great city of New York. It may be down, but it's not out. And New York will rock again. You guys, here's a little bit of New York is rocking.
baby, come on, let me take you out tonight, where the music is pumping and the lights are bright. The whistle blows and the workday's done. We're gonna get the party started and have some fun. Meet me after midnight, baby, don't be late. Down around the corner at the Empire State. The kids are getting down up in the Bronx tonight. Times Square's lit up like a broad daylight. They're kicking out the jams down at Old Bay Ridge. The joint is really jumping on the Brooklyn Bridge. All the hippies bopping down on Avenue A. Put your red dress on, yeah, we're on our way. Cause it's New York, New York is rocking. 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 New York, New York is rocking tonight. Frank Sinatra singing about the little town blues. Baryshnikov is putting on his blue suede shoes. Bird is bopping down on 52nd Street. The Ramones and CBGB's got them on their feet. Pavarotti singing up at Carnegie Hall, yeah. Everybody's swinging, man, we're having a ball. It's New York, New York is rocking. 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 New York, New York is rocking tonight. Well, they really got it shaking in Jamaica, Queens. Wall Street is dressing up in old blue jeans. They're jumping in the garden for the New York Knicks. The Islanders and Rangers got the hockey sticks. The Bombers in the Bronx and the Mets have shade. The Giants and Jets are up and ready to play. It's New York, New York is rocking. 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 New York, New York is rocking tonight. Yeah, taxi! Well, they're starting down and Ferry's rocking all night long. In Soho, they're standing up and singing along. Boys are stepping out down to Christopher Street. In Bed-Stuy, they're dancing to a new jack beat. We'll give our regards to old Broadway. Cause New York is rocking and it's here to stay. It's New York, New York is rocking. 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 New York, New York is rocking tonight. New York, New York is rocking. 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 New York, New York is rocking tonight.
Yeah, I love this song too, man.
Yeah,
I love everything you do, but
I'm so happy with the way it came out. I mean, I've got really great musicians around me and a great team in the studio. I'm blessed to
Yeah.
have talk about lucky guys in the world. I've got a great team around me to help bring this stuff to life.
yeah,
And Ahad Lazen did that video, directed it, and did a great job. So I love it. Love playing that song. Every time we play it, like when we play in DC on August 28th, when the last chorus comes, we'll be going, DC is rocking. Coming to the city.
Yeah, we've come back since January's craziness at the Capitol too. That was a moment that we all kind of lost our breath.
I'll tell you something about that. January 6th.
Yeah.
The riots at the Capitol. We were in the record studio. We were just like, we started the album on the 4th of January, all masked up. And the first few days, 3 days are really intense because that's where you're getting the basic tracks.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to live and die with what happens on those 3 days. And with, John Weber on drums and Johnny Paisano on bass, I've got a rhythm section of Doom. And with Jimmy K. Bones on lead guitar, come on.
I know.
And so on the third day, January 6th, You know, we were the night before, we were a little apprehensive about what was going to go down. So on the 6th of January, we're recording a song called The Justice Bell,
Okay.
which is dedicated to John Lewis on the album.
Yes.
The Justice Bell for John Lewis. And I
Awesome.
met former Congressman John
Yeah.
Lewis, the great American icon. And
Yes.
I met him a few years ago in New York City. He came up for a birthday party for Joe Crowley, former Congressman Joe Crowley. And I'm good friends with Joe. I've known Joe since he was 19. He climbed into my dressing room window with a buddy at Queens College. Queens College, after the show, 1980, my first show, my first series of concerts with the band ever. These two kids climb in to my dressing room window to get a towel signed. And Joe still has the towel. And he's a dear friend of mine. And I've been to his birthday. I played his birthday party once, and Congressman John Lewis, flew up for the birthday party. You know, as did Nancy Pelosi, you know, who I sang with at one point at one of his birthday parties. Yeah, pretty crazy. Me and Nancy on stage.
Really?
Joe was singing. Oh yeah, it's on film. I got to get a copy. Joe was singing. It was his birthday, his 50th birthday. He was singing American Pie, you know, Bye Bye Miss America. He said it's her favorite song. He loves to sing and play guitar. He's a great singer, great Irish tenor. So he called me up on stage. So it's me and Nancy standing there, and he starts singing, and there's a mic. And so I grabbed the mic, you know, me and Nancy rocking, you know, Bye Bye Miss. It was a riot. My band is on the side just laughing, not believing our, you know. So back to a couple of years ago, John Lewis came to New York for Joe's birthday, and it was a crowded. Southside Johnny was playing. Was the band that night.
Right.
You know, Caroline Kennedy was there. I'd met her before. A real honor for me. You know,
Yeah.
being a kid who grew up in the '60s.
Sure.
And Joe Crowley gave me a really good, nice introduction to John Lewis, and we had a really sweet moment together. I got to just thank him, you know, in all sincerity for all he's done, and we had a really good, great moment. And then he spoke for 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. I was 5 feet away. And it was very meaningful for me, a mountaintop. And so the song, The Justice Bell, you know, the justice bell will not be stilled. Hear it ring. For every dream that is fulfilled, hear it ring. Hear it in the voiceless ones as they begin to sing. The justice bell will not be stilled. Hear it ring. John inspired that song, and we recorded it on January 6th. There was a couple of friends there. They kept coming in the studio. You got to see what's happening on TV. I go, yeah, we'll check it out. The riots were going on while we're recording the Justice Bell, the very moment that afternoon. Yeah.
Oh, that is intense. What an incredible moment. We, you know, as you wanted to do with New York at Night, we've hoped that DC would slowly open, and I'll be taking my daughter, who's coming up and visiting from Florida this week, taking her down to DC to kind of feel a little more normal with Washington DC itself. Willie, looking back in June of last year, Willie Nile Uncovered, celebrating 40 years of music. How did that come about? And what an amazing thing to have a tribute from people like Nils, Graham Parker, Nils Lofgren, Richard Barone, Robert Chanel. The list goes on. How did that come about? I
still can't believe that even happened. You know, I got contacted about a year and a half ago about these two guys in Brooklyn, good guys, reached out to me and asking. They said they wanted to do a tribute album for me, and was that okay with me? And I said, well, sure. I mean, of course. 26 songs on this record. This double disc, 26 songs. All these artists, I can't believe they all took the time to do that. And when I went to dinner at their house, one of their houses, they wanted to play me the album, and like, you know, I had tears in my eyes hearing my songs played back. It's called Willie Nile Uncovered. They encouraged everyone to do versions like a little off the beaten track or whatever, and to hear the songs played back, and there's 26 of them. It's like, wow. And I'm humbled and honored, and still can't believe it.
Oh, it is. When I heard about that, I've been a fan for a long time of yours. So to have a tribute record is not a surprise to a fan, but it must be an awesome, humbling experience. And I loved what Nils Lofgren said. I've been listening to Willie's edgy, soulful rock and roll for decades. Willie has always delivered. He had a song he wanted to sing, and he was like, I'm sure somebody's already taken it, and it was All God's Children. What an amazing experience. We're going to listen to Richard Barone, who was on the record as well. And this is a little bit of what Willie was just talking about, the tribute to him. Let's just be real about it, Willie. It's a tribute to you. It's called Uncovered. And here we go with a little bit of Streets of New York.
The streets of New York, a maze made of iron and stone, a labyrinth complete with edges that cut through the bone. They come by the millions, the hipster, the prince, and the clown. They come 'cause they know that something's going down on the streets of New York.
I want to say thank you again to Nils and to Richard and to all the people, Graham, Elliot Murphy, so many really quality artists took the time to do that. No words can ever express how grateful and how humbled I am. And I still can't believe that happened. It's a real, gives me pause.
I bet it's a testimony to you, my friend, and all the people who love you musically and otherwise think you're deserved every second of that. So I can't wait to start milking myself into it. You did something. Talk to me a little bit about the Little Steven's Underground Garage experience. Willie Nile live from the streets of New York.
With no concerts last year, with everything canceled, I'm thinking, well, what are we going to do? That's income. That's serious income. I have bills to pay. It's not like, what's something funny? A buddy sent me the other day. A buddy of mine sent me this thing. He saw like a Wikipedia, some kind of statement about how much is Willie Nile worth. And I laughed for like 15 minutes. It said I'm worth between 1 and 5 million. I went, what the? Who are they talking to? Like, okay, I was about to borrow money for myself. Hey, me, can you lend me 10? Can you give me $10 till my next fight? Anyway, so yeah, that just goes to show you the accuracy of some of that stuff. It's far from it. Anyway.
Right.
So I thought, well, let's do online shows. So yes. I did, people were doing a lot of stuff from home and that.
Right.
And I thought, well, I wanted to do it with some quality control. I'm not a technical guy, Mm-hmm. And so I went into the recording studio where I make my records with Stuart Lerman, my co-producer. And I did 2 episodes where I just played solo, like the early days when I played on Bleecker Street. Just me with a guitar, me at the piano, telling stories.
Right.
And it really worked. It went really well. People were very generous, which shocked me, And so we did 2 of those. We put them out, we spaced them out. And then I did 2 more with Johnny Paisano, my bass player, in the studio, like a friend of mine, 7 cameras shoot with, high tech, multi-track. And they went well. So I thought, I'm taking the band in. So we went to Bowery Electric, which is a great Jesse Mallon's club on Bowery and East 2nd Street. One of my favorite places. It's a real throwback to raw rock in New York, the way it was, years back, and it's alive and kicking. I'm so glad they made it through this nightmare. And
yes,
we went there and we set up cameras and we filmed a bunch of shows. We did, and Little Steven, after the first few shows, the Underground Garage stepped up and they presented them. Little Steven and Underground Garage present. It was a real thrill for me and an honor. Little Steven's been really, really good to me. God bless him. And
I bet.
And he's a rock and roll Renaissance man. He does so many different things. He's got this incredible channel, the Underground Garage. I'm serious. So we did a bunch of shows. Every month we were putting the show out. And it became a ticketed event. And again, the fans stepped up. Helped me survive through the year. There's a perfect direct example of people helping people, stepping up.
Yeah.
And 4 records in 5 years, and they don't suck. I believe in every one of these records. So
sure,
I won't put one out unless I think it's really good. So I thought, well, what might be interesting is if Johnny Paisano and I did a live from the streets of New York thing.
Oh,
If we went on the streets early morning, I'll have an acoustic guitar. He played bass, and we went with Ehud, the director of these videos, and he has we could plug in, so you can't
oh,
amplify. Johnny couldn't hear what he was playing because his bass, he couldn't
right,
hear it. I'm playing acoustic guitar, so I could hear myself.
right.
We had two mic stands at two mics, but not amplified on the street. And the first one we did, we went down to Battery Park in New York City. Like
Right.
this is 8 a.m. We went
Right.
down there because we figured we beat the crowd somewhat. And we were at the tip of Battery Park with the Statue of Liberty in the background.
Oh,
We sang Sunrise in New York City.
oh,
I told a little story, and then we went. There's a World War II monument down there called it's a World War II naval memorial honoring the dead from World War II, and there's 10,000 names. There's these huge granite slabs with names on them
right.
on both sides. There's 8 of them. So I sang the innocent ones there with Johnny, dedicated to all the people lost in World War II. Then we went to Wall Street,
Oh,
standing outside the stock exchange, and I sang, "Dear Lord, Lord, give me money.
oh, perfect.
Lord, won't you help me and come up with the dough?" So we did that around New York. Fascinating. We ended up in Strawberry Fields, outside the Dakota, and I dedicated 2 songs to John Lennon.
Oh.
Love Falls Like Rain and Let's All Come Together.
Oh,
So the shows at the Underground Garage, Little Steven, they present that, they was under their umbrella. We did that. It was a real honor, and we had fun doing it. People loved seeing it, but from what I hear, and yeah, we'll do more,
Oh.
we'll do, we're not done doing those.
oh, that sounds fantastic. I hear you. And you went by Buddy Holly's apartment as well?
That's right. We went by, Buddy Holly lived on Fifth Avenue between 8th Street and 9th Street.
Oh,
He lived there for 6 months with his wonderful wife, Maria Elena Holly,
yes.
who's a good friend of mine. I love her dearly. And
Wow.
I said, let's go. We're thinking places to go. I go, let's go outside Buddy's apartment because he's living on the 4th floor. Let's sing Rave On or Not Fade Away. I forget what we did. Maybe Not Fade Away.
Oh,
On the sidewalk, right underneath our window,
oh,
and I sent it to, I don't know if Maria Elena saw it or not. I sent it to a mutual friend. I dedicated to Buddy and Maria.
oh,
People are walking by, New Yorkers, and there's these 2 guys in the corner, on the sidewalk singing Not Fade Away. New York has a lot of stories to tell, and I'm happy to, kind of shine a light on some of the areas.
oh, perfect. I can't wait to dig in and find that. Where can you find that right now, Willie?
They're not up now, but at some point, I'm not sure when, the album's coming out, so we're focusing on The Day the Earth Stood Still.
Yeah.
But maybe sometime in the fall,
Great.
we'll put them up. People can see them again. I think we did at least a dozen of them.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was really fun to do.
Yep.
And we made money from it, and I was able to survive. And
Yeah. It kept you going. It kept you engaged. It kept you playing. And Johnny, who I know and have met several times as well. And
Johnny Pie.
Johnny Pie, I want to get him on the show in the next few months as well. I know we'd have a blast talking. You released a video around that time of a song called Run Free. What was the impetus behind Run Free? Is it on the new record or was it on the old record?
I love that song. I'm starting to close my shows with that when we have the keyboard player. It's like,
I love it.
Run Free is the last song on the album New York at Night.
Right.
And so
That's right.
basically I've got two new albums that we didn't
Yeah.
get the tour behind, New York at Night and The Day the Earth Stood Still. I'm so proud of them both. So Run Free is a song I wrote a few years back with Frankie Lee.
Oh.
And it's an older song. We recorded it, a bunch of years ago, and I'd forgotten about it. And I found it in a drawer when I was putting together New York at Night. And I thought, oh, this could be an album closer. And boy, oh boy, is it ever. And we went to Bowery Electric, and we did last summer, we did an album release party online.
Right.
Ticketed event, and we closed this, the last song on the album was Run Free. So that's what this video is of us playing it live.
Oh, it's fantastic.
On the Bowery. Thank you.
Yeah, I rolled it. I've rolled it probably 4 times since I knew we were going to talk. I just can't get enough of it. And I'll be diving into all of this, Willie. It's so great. And Rob Cloris on keys.
Rob Cloris on the keys. I mean, when we can get Rob to play with us, it's He makes us better. He's a good man and a great player. He's playing keyboards on this one.
He does really run it on here. Here you go, everybody. This is from last year, another beautiful example of where Willie's going and where he just continues to put out just wonderful rock and roll music. This is a little Run Free.
Mystery, 'cause there ain't no chain got a hold on me. It's why I breathe. I've gotta run free. I've gotta run free. I've gotta run free.
Yeah, that's Willie Nile at his best, man. It's funny, not funny, it's phenomenal that your songwriting just never seems to subside. And I know you say you've got so much sitting there in droves, and you can tell it's all good rock and roll music. It must feel great.
It feels really great. I don't know why the songs are still coming the way they are in drove. They keep coming. And after all these years, I've kind of learned when to pay attention to an idea or not,
Right.
And they're still coming. And I'm like, kind of got things backwards. I'm doing more now than I did years ago. So yeah.
Well, Willie Nile, I'm telling you, we've had beautiful conversations before by phone. We've hung out a little bit backstage a couple of times, but this takes the cake to be able to hang with you. Coming out of this thing, you seem like you're energized as usual. You're the Willie Nile we all love because you're like, I'm keeping rocking. I'm not stopping. And you got the Day the Earth Stood still coming out soon. You feeling good coming out of this thing, Willie?
I feel really good, and it's really great to see you. I haven't seen you in some years. Right?
Yeah.
And seeing old friends, it's like this new rebirth that hopefully people are having.
Yeah.
After this nightmare, which is not over yet. We still have to be careful, but
yeah,
it feels great. It really does. It's healing. The music has always been a healer for me.
Me too.
And it's good. It feels great to see you again. Just that doing this was worth it for me, just to see you and get to chat and say hello and catch up.
Thanks.
And I'm looking forward the shows we've got shows coming up ahead. The website has all the shows we're doing, and willienile.com. And
Yep.
August 28th at the Hamilton in DC. I can't wait. I'm going to go over to the White House, and I'm not sure what I'm going over there. Just to meditate, say a prayer or whatever. But yeah, I can't wait to play the Hamilton 28th of August.
Oh, and if I am in town, we have a lot of trips we're taking out to see kids and stuff. If I'm in town, I'm gonna come running in there and give you a hug, and
Thank you.
and we
Yeah,
won't
man.
feel unsafe. And I've been vaccinated, so a hug is fine. But August 13th, you guys, which is about a month away.
August 13th, the album's released. August 13th. Yeah.
And this show will air after the album's largely out. It's going to be airing right around the time that the album is released. So go grab The Day the Earth Stood Still, everybody, and become a part. If you're not already, then you got work to do and get back into Willie Nile's career, because it's been going full steam for many years, and there is no letting up now. Willie Nile, thanks so much, my friend, and I hope to see you very soon, and good luck with everything.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Good luck to you. Safe travels. I hope to see you soon. All right, brother?
Sounds great, Willie. Thanks so
Thank
much.
you. My pleasure. My pleasure.
Every guest, I am astonished that I had those conversations, and this is no exception. The great Willie Nile. Thank you, Willie. Thank you, brother, for coming on Living on Music. And boy, is he just steaming ahead in his career. Again, The Day the Earth Stood Still just came out, and you can go to willienile.com and pick up a copy, and you should, to help musicians, to help Willie, and also to enjoy some great, great rock and roll. And that's what Willie Nile has done for the last 40 plus years, and what he continues to do. So thank you, Willie Nile, so much. Keep in close touch, brother. Coming up on Living on Music, a week from tonight on the 23rd. Wow, a double dose of phenomenal rock and roll ladies. Ali Handel, who's been on one of my earliest Living on Music shows from LA. She is an internationally known musician, well known in the United States and elsewhere. And a phenomenal rock and roll guitarist, a great songwriter, and also the guitarist for the all-female Aerosmith tribute band, Ragdolls. And they played a show recently. They're coming out of the quarantinage and starting to play again. And we'll talk to Ali about what it's like to play the Joe Perry role for that band, and also her own amazing solo career and guitarist. And also, just to add to that amazing rock and roll feel, is Marlene Angelides, who I've had on before as well, a stunningly talented lady on numerous fronts: acting, singing, voiceover work, voice dubbing, Disney movies. She's actually done other languages during Disney movies. Just an incredibly talented lady, and the lead singer in yet another all-female tribute band that I'm sure, if you're a rock and roll fan, Les Zeppelin. So we will have Marlene on and Ali, and it is going to be a night to get caught up with these two incredible ladies and see how they're doing with their various musical passions. Can't wait to have them. The following week, August 30th, another return to Living on Music, Laura Segaris, an influential local singer, songwriter, and performer. Can't wait to have Laura on, talk about what she's doing. I know she's got something coming out soon, so we'll talk about her latest efforts and projects. And also, Dave Chappell will be on the show, and we're going to be talking to Dave about the incredible Danny Gatton tribute show that is coming up this week at the Birchmere, and we'll talk about that. And I've had Dave on the show a while back, so we'll talk about how he's doing, and also about this incredible Danny Gatton tribute at the Birchmere. Go to the Zebra page on Facebook, sign up, like us, and you'll get pinged on all the things that are going on with the Zebra Press and ZTV and in and around Alexandria and the whole Northern Virginia region. You can also go to the ZTV page on Facebook and also get more direct pings on what ZTV is doing across the board. And I think you'll really like it. I think ZTV is going to come surging out of this thing. We launched at the beginning of the pandemic, and now it's time to really take it up a notch with more ability to do more, and I can't wait. So go to ZTV, and also go to thezebra.org to get your copy of the Zebra Press newspaper. And it is a wonderful very rich paper that gives you an overview of a lot of businesses, a lot of people, a lot of special things that go on in this area, ZTD updates, things like that. But go to thezebra.org and go down to the bottom there. See there down at the bottom says subscribe, hit that. And for a very nominal fee, you'll get the Zebra newspaper delivered every month. Again, next Monday on Living on Music, a double shot of rock and roll ladies. Ali Handel and Marlene Angelides will join me on Living on Music. Until then, remember, keep it right in your back pocket or your front pocket or right in the middle of your soul, and try to find a way every day to be the good news in someone's life, right? Take care, everybody. Ciao.